So when I was a little girl, and even still today, one of my favorite stories was the story of Samuel being called by God as a little boy. I specifically love that it says that Samuel did not yet know the word of the Lord, and yet God chose him. Even though 3 times he didn't recognize God's voice, God chose him. And he needed Elijah's help to realize it, but still, he was called as a boy. And as a kid, I so desperately wanted God to speak to me. I lived in a very vibrant Christian community, and so I was constantly looking for these big miracles or kind of burning bush moments to come into my life. Like, the problem for me wasn't not believing in God. I always believed in God, but I think doubted myself and my own worthiness to hear God and be used by God. And I so wanted it. And so I just kept thinking, most of my childhood, I kept thinking, I just gotta wait and one day it'll come. And I've come to see throughout my life that there are so many points where God is speaking to us and interacting with us. And my problem was not that he wasn't speaking to me, it was that I wasn't seeing it. I was looking for God in the place I wanted him to be rather than accepting him and seeing him where he is at in my own life. And the way that he wants to speak to me. And so it's kind of been a journey of learning to hear his voice and learning that it's not always in the earthquake, but like that other awesome story about Elijah, it's sometimes in the still small voice. And I think one really brief story I will share where I feel like I felt this in my life for the first time was I was probably 14 or so. I was at the time in Israel, and I was at church. And it was my first time at this church, and I was at the back. It was fellowship time. And I remember I was on my DS or whatever gaming device I had at the time, and I looked up and I saw this older gentleman, and I felt this strong desire to go and speak to him. And then I thought, no, I'm a 14-year-old. That's the last thing I'd want to do is go talk to a stranger. So I quickly brushed this thought away. I was like, no. Again, it came, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to go talk to an older, strange man sitting at a table. Stranger danger, no. Third time it came, which again, looking back now, I see so much connection to the Samuel story. And I wasn't really brave enough to go on my own, so I ended up getting my mom. But again, Samuel had Elijah, so it all connects. So I took my mom over, and we ended up talking to him and finding out that this was his first time in church. He wasn't a Christian, and he had been feeling really lonely and kind of surprised that no one had come to talk to him or meet him even. And so it was a really cool conversation. Nothing big happened or crazy. He didn't fall on his knees and accept Christ right there. But it was a really good conversation, and we became friends. And then as we were walking home, my mom asked me, I can still see where we were because it was so impactful for me, but she asked me, hey, do you realize that God spoke to you today? And I remember stopping because I've been waiting my whole life for this. Closed my Game Boy. I don't know how I was playing it walking, but anyways, closed it and was like, what? And she was like, yeah, why else would you feel that desire to go talk to that stranger who ended up really needing to feel loved today? And that was the day I realized that God's voice can sound like our own voice and thoughts. It's just that the difference is I wouldn't have had those thoughts. And I knew it in my heart. I was like, I know I wouldn't have wanted to go up and talk to him. If it was just myself, I just wanted to play my game and do what made me happy. And so I realized, yeah, God's voice was quiet. It was small. It was just this feeling of realizing someone was lonely and knowing that I knew what that felt like, and I wanted to help. So there is a snippet of my story, learning to hear God in the places, through the people, in the times we maybe least expect it, in the stillness, in the still small voice, even in the silence, to remember and believe that God is good. God is rescuing us, God is speaking to us, and God is there, even when it might not feel like it, especially then. So, thanks for listening.